Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to The Discriminating Gamer, the board game review show that the Village Voice called That Show with the Guy. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at Time of Crisis from GMT Games. In Time of Crisis from GMT Games, 2 to 4 players take on the roles of various factions trying to proclaim their own empire in the chaos that was the 3rd century Roman Empire. Sounds like fun. Now, this is a very unusual game with some unusual mechanics. At its heart, it's basically a war game, but it's got political units here, and there's some very interesting things going on here as well. Let's take a look. The game board represents the Roman Empire with various provinces around the board. All of these provinces have kind of a capital section. They also have an influence track that goes from 0 to 4. Italia has one that goes up to, I think, like 8 or 9, as I recall. So it's very powerful. Italia, of course, being the heart of the Roman Empire. Now, every player is going to get, of course, a kind of a starting province. You're going to have kind of an army with a general there that are going to be in the capital. Then you're going to have a governor, which is a little round token. It's going to have a number on the back, and you're going to place that on the influence track, show how much influence, how well you control a particular province. Also around the board, you're going to put various tribes, various barbarians, the nomads and the Goths and what have you, all around the board in the various places, and they're going to be flipped to their inactive side. They're not really doing anything at the moment. Each player is also going to get some starting cards. Now, these starting cards have, these are influence cards, and these influence cards have, they're all going to be worth a value of 1, but up in the corner they have either a red, a yellow, or a blue symbol, and that's kind of very important. Red means military, yellow means kind of your population, and the blue kind of means your political influence with Rome. Now, you're also going to have a pool of cards you can buy. This game has a deck building mechanic, but it's a very unusual deck building mechanic, not like other traditional deck builders that we've seen, and I'll explain more about that in a minute. But you do have a kind of a market of cards you can buy from over the course of the game. Each turn, players go through a series of steps. First thing, you have an upkeep phase. If you have kind of units that were only there for a round, for a turn, from your last turn, you go ahead, you remove them at that point. Next, you roll a crisis check. Now, your crisis check is 2 die, a black and a white die. You consult the crisis track, which is printed on the board for 4 players. There's also kind of supplements you can put in there for 2 or 3 players. Now, the number you roll indicates exactly what's going to happen on the track. Usually, it's going to be a barbarian invasion of some sort. However, it could be an event. If it's an event, you draw an event card from the event deck, and then that event usually is going to be something that's going to be in play during that round. If you activate a tribe, the black die is going to tell you how many you flip over from their inactive to their active side, and then the white die is going to tell you which path, because next to the name of the various tribes, you also have kind of paths where they're going to go, which provinces they're going to go to. So you go ahead, you flip those over, and you send them on the provinces according to where they go on the dice. Now, that's going to be important, too, because you don't want barbarians in your provinces. It's going to kind of pull down your political support, and it may cause other problems, so you want to deal with them as swiftly as you can. Next, you have your take action phase. Now, during the take action phase, essentially you have the cards with the point values, and you can spend the cards and the point values to essentially take the actions. And there's a number of actions that you can take. For instance, with the red die, you can recruit a general. You look at your general pool, you look at the number on the back, and then whatever that number is, you put it in your available leader spot. Then you can place them later. If you still have the points left over, you can place that general on the board with an army, or you can actually create a new army, or you can actually add new armies to an existing general on the board. You can train your legion. So essentially, if you have an army that's been flipped over, it's been damaged because of a previous battle, you can essentially return it to its proper side. You can also move an army. You can, for a cost of 1, you can move an army to an adjacent region. Or if there's a mob in your province, you can spend 1 military action to disperse the mob. Now, for your blue actions, your influence actions with Rome, you can essentially recruit a governor. It's another little round token, and its cost is equal to whatever the number is on the back of that token. So you pay that cost, you get him in your available leaders box. You can also attempt to place a governor. Essentially, you're going to do a check with Rome and with dice to see if you can place a governor in a province, either one that's uninhabited or maybe try to oust somebody else. Now, if you do that, essentially you're trying to double the number you roll the dice, trying to double the number of the support of wherever you're going for. There's some modifiers if there's kind of military units and other things there. But you go ahead, you're trying to oust the other players from their provinces and install your own governor. You can also recall one of your governors for 2 points. If maybe one province isn't working out so well, you want that guy back in your available leaders track, you can go ahead and bring him back for 2 blue points. So you can now spend your yellow units on kind of your populace and trying to govern. Now, you spend the yellow points, you can increase your popular support by spending yellow points equal to the next highest number visible on your track. So if you're at 2, you want to get to 3, you'd have to spend 3 points, yellow points, to move to the 3 location. You can hold games for 2 points, and holding games is essentially you can get rid of a mob. If you've got a mob marker there, which are nasty, they can really hurt you, you can get rid of the mob by holding games. For 3 yellow points, you can also build an improvement. There are different kinds of improvement. There's an amphitheater, a basilica, and a limes, and they all do different things that are going to help you govern and help protect your province. After you've taken all your actions, you do a support check. Essentially, you see if there's a rival emperor or pretender in your area, which is potentially another player trying to hone in militarily, or if there's an active barbarian, and you're going to kind of check that against your support. You may lose support, and some other nasty things may happen. If you have created a pretender empire, you're going to go ahead. You're going to manage that at that point. Next, you gain legacy points. Now, legacy points are kind of the victory points of the game. You gain them from governing provinces, from having successful battles, from defeating enemies in battle, destroying enemy units. You're gaining more and more of the legacy points, and again, that's victory points. Now, at this point, you have the deck building mechanic. Essentially, you can now spend your political support, however much political support you've got in your provinces, to buy new cards. So you can buy these new cards, and these new cards are going to have, again, the point values in red, blue, or yellow in order to do these various actions. But they're also going to have text abilities, and some of these text abilities can, make you try to make a play for Italia, to become an emperor or pretender. They're going to make you, give you other things as well, but like a caster, which you can place in your province, which is going to kind of help protect it, make it more difficult for somebody to take that over while it's not your turn. A few other things that are going to come up, military items and whatnot, that are going to help you as you are, again, trying to cement your empire and expand your power. Now, when you buy cards, you're going to do that. The first card you buy is, I believe, the printed cost of the card. The second card you buy is going to be the printed cost of the card plus 1, so they get more expensive the more you buy. You can also trash cards at that time as well. If maybe too many cards are in your pile, you don't want some of those weaker cards, you can go ahead and trash cards at that point. Finally, you do some more housekeeping. You flip any inactive barbarians to their active side in your provinces. You go ahead and, if you've got a mob token, the mob expands, the mob grows, so the mob gets bigger. And then also, you refill your hand to 5 cards. But here's the thing. Unlike traditional deck builders where you randomly draw 5 cards, you actually look through your entire available pile of cards. That is to say, no cards you've used that turn or previously. And then you find 5 cards, you take them, and they're in your hand. Now what's going to happen is as the game goes on, your discard pile is going to grow. Again, just like in a deck builder, as soon as you can't draw any more cards, you reshuffle your discard pile. That becomes your new available pile. So players are going around and around and around, taking these actions, trying to usurp other governors, maybe doing military battles against other governors, trying to hold the barbarians at bay, making sure they're not stealing your support in your provinces, and at the same time, you're trying to deal with the populace, keep them happy in the provinces as well. Now, there's a couple of things that will trigger the end game. If the emperor, the person who is emperor, has 60 legacy points, that will trigger the end game. You make sure everyone's had their turn that round, and then the game is over. Second thing that will trigger it is if you go through the event cards and you draw the Diocletian card, which kind of ended the period of chaos as Diocletian came to power and began the Tetrarchy. Then you go ahead and end the game. Again, game's over. So what you do at that point is look at your legacy points. So there's a number of bonuses you can get for being emperor, pretender, I think you can get a bonus. There's different ways you can get bonuses there. You add those legacy points in. Whoever has the most legacy points at the end of Time of Crisis is the winner of Time of Crisis. So again, that is just a very, very brief overview of Time of Crisis. There's a lot more going on here. This is a game, like a lot of GMT games, that's filled with a lot of rules and variations and whatnot, and there's a lot of meat here that I'm just touching on. There's a lot more going on. So it's funny, years ago, I own a game that I'll probably end up giving away here shortly, called Conquest of Empire by Eagle Games, that was 15 years old, maybe more, and it was kind of had little plastic minis, and it kind of tackled the same subject, but it was a little more straightforward, kind of Axis and Allies-y. And I really enjoyed that one. I thought it was fun. And this game covers the same ground, but there's so much more depth and nuance to this game than that one. Time of Crisis is interesting on a lot of levels. First of all, that deck building mechanic, which at the same time it's a deck builder, and I really like board games that incorporate deck building. I think that's awesome. I love it when games do that. And so I think it's cool here, but I think it's so cool that unlike traditional deck builders where you just get a random thing, it's like, well, I can't do that, I can't do that. You can actually look at the end of your turn, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to do. But then when it comes back to you, maybe the board's changed, maybe circumstances have changed, and you want to do different things, but you can't because you got that hand that you drew at the end of your last turn. So it remains very... I don't want to say random, but there's still that sense of you got to plan for the future, but you are planning here, unlike in a regular deck builder where it's just kind of the luck of the draw. So there's some profound differences in that sense. Also, there are a few other little things going on here that are pretty interesting, I think. The whole political track and the whole kind of how you're fighting your opponents not only through military struggle, but through political struggle. You're trying to oust them politically. That's fun. And making those decisions. How am I going to play the cards? Am I going to play... Do I want to load my hand with blue cards this turn so I can make those political attacks? Or do I need to take care of some barbarians? Do I need to have a real... militarily heavy hand, a red card heavy hand? Or, again, am I having problems with my population? Or do I want to improve my political hold because I'm afraid of these guys? So maybe a more defensive move. Do I stack my cards with the yellow cards? And which cards do I buy? What am I trying to do? Do I want to get to a point where I'm Emperor or Pretender? Do I want to try to do I really feel like militarily is the way to go here, or politically is the way to go? Do I want to protect myself with K-sters, and which are markers there that, again, make it harder for people to get you out? What do I want to do here? And that is really cool. The deck building aspect of this game is phenomenal. And I love just the political intrigue of this game, because this is dirty. This is a mean game, and I love mean games. They're so much fun. It's kind of an area control aspect here. But you've also, too, got that random element with the barbarians. You never know where they're going to attack, where they're going to come from, so you can be preparing these kind of massive attacks against your neighbor, or political attacks against your neighbor, and wouldn't you know it, barbarians come in, and suddenly you've got to divert resources to take care of them. It is really fun. It's very fun. This is a game that I just think clicks everywhere. It's an ambitious game. It's trying to do a lot of things here with a lot of new mechanics and a lot of new just kind of an approach to the subject, and it works. It absolutely works. I just dig this game. This is really, really a fun game. GMT puts out a lot of good stuff. I'm a big fan of GMT Games. And this is, I just played 1960 by him, and I love 1960. And I love this one, too. These games are both just phenomenal. I played Pericles not too long ago, which, if you saw the review, there's so much about Pericles I liked, but it was just a little bit much for me. It was just a little bit too many things going on, too many mechanics, and it kind of lost me. This one is not nearly so mechanic heavy, I guess is what I'd say. But it still manages to provide some really interesting interlocking mechanics, some really fun depth, and of course, great strategy. And the most important thing that I love in games, as I've said hundreds of times, tough choices. Tough choices throughout. What are you going to do here? Tough choices throughout. Needless to say, Time of Crisis is a winner that I highly, highly recommend. Buy it, no question. If you like strategy games, you like kind of something with a deck building aspect to it, you're going to love Time of Crisis. I love it. Buy it. Thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please leave a comment for us on YouTube, on Wargame Geek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We ask you to please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. We are The Discriminating Gamer, and I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this is the last video, the last review I am recording before I head down to Texas next week. and I won't be recording anymore here, and I don't know what I'm going to be doing when I get to Texas. Now, this will probably not be the last one I put up. I'll probably put this one up relatively soon, either before I leave or after I just get there. I'll have this one up soon, and then I'll have a few more that I've previously recorded that I've kind of been sitting on for a while. So this won't be the last one I post, but it's the last one I'm recording here, and I don't know what's going to happen in Texas. So if I don't see you all again, I just wanted to say once again, thank you so much. This has been such a great experience, and I absolutely have enjoyed getting to know you and your comments, and I've made so many great friendships through the Discriminating Gamer, and I'm so happy to be a part of this. So once again, thanks, and take care. God bless you all.
Please somebody help me on my feet again, and I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where I've been. Please somebody help me on the solid ground. It's a long time, and I'll be dying. Once a year I wind up in the band.
Sean, I gotta tell you, I really love that Uncle Sam outfit and the way you've really gotten into the spirit of this game.
Thanks, Cody. And I like how you've really gotten into the spirit of the game with your drab, humble, communist clothing, your round, Khrushchev-like face, that blank stare that just screams public education, your propensity to always split the bill perfectly even, although we know that you ate more onion rings than the rest of us, and your unwillingness to name names even though you are full aware who egged my car last week, and your complete lack of overall hygiene that will ensure that no one ever loves you. You have really brought the whole feel of communism to the table. Well, anyway, on with the review.
Yeah, let's review the game now.